Mike.
And that's Toya.
And this is Tech Beats and Bytes. Yeah.
Too soon for this. How y'all doing today, man?
Hey, I'm doing great, man.
It's you know what it is? It's because Mercury is in retrograde. That's
You better tell them. That's a good thing. You just gotta work the planets to your benefit.
Right. All right.
Just say.
First of all, let's take care of the house cleaning. Let's special shout out, of course, we are in the building. This is Startup Boot Camp space. Thank you for allowing us to use your space. World Famous House of Mac, Digital Grass, Cosmology, Town Mall Brewery, Pop Soul, Popcorn, and that's it. But more than make it happen for us and our sponsors, our supporters, the Knight Foundation. So we have a short intro and then we have our second round of guests. Gentlemen, the way we work here is we don't do a lot of research on each other. We allow people to introduce themselves. So if you could, please. Introduction is about 2 minutes. We're going to ask questions, then we get on to part 2 of it. So just tell us your names and your company you're here to represent today.
All right. Well, my name is Robert Jones. I'm part of a group called Roots Collective. Basically, our whole thing is we're a 2-tier company. We actually help small businesses, and we also have a printing company.
Okay.
All right. My name is Abraham Metellus, and I have the privilege of managing the Little Haiti Cultural Complex in downtown Little Haiti. Our mission is simple. We want to preserve Afro-Caribbean culture. We want to inspire the next generation of leaders, and we want to leverage arts and culture as tools for community building and transformation.
All right. So are you guys working together? Yeah.
Yes.
Y'all really didn't state that part.
Right. What's the connection? Why y'all up here?
Everybody
together?
up here like why they got
The
two different guests? All right.
The connection is basically the founder of Roots Collective, Danny Agnew. We actually did a partnership with the Little Haiti Culture Center.
Right.
And we use that as a platform to grow small businesses in Little Haiti and
dope.
a very diverse community, period.
Mm-hmm.
So we use that as a pipeline to grow our small business, build the black economic base, so all of our companies can start investing back into the community.
Okay. But so unpack a little bit about what you mean by helping other small businesses. Like, what exactly do you do?
Okay, so
And real quick, a shout out to Lemon City. That's what it looks like.
So-
Lemon City pepper, Pop Soul, get it back. Okay,
is
sorry.
it vegan?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Vegan, GMO, all them other little tags y'all need on there to feel safe about the food that we still don't know what we consuming, but it's safe.
So the whole thing is that we help businesses. Basically, we give them a space to set up, test their products and services.
Which is great for a company to see. You got to be able to test it.
Test it to see what
Fail
people actually
fast.
like.
Yes.
And see how you can grow the business and what sales works and things like that. And we actually promote all of their brands on our social media pages.
Nice.
To help get them a bigger following. We mostly deal with a lot of new businesses and help them grow and just promote their brand.
Nice. Okay. And so, Little Haiti Cultural Center, venue, but outside of that.
Right. So the Little Haiti Cultural Center, we took over the Caribbean Marketplace about 4 years ago.
Okay.
And the marketplace was closed for 18 years. And the city of Miami was able to acquire it. And we were able to. So when it opened back in 2014, it didn't really have a business plan. It was just kind of opened up, and they installed brand new air conditioning system, brand new paint job, but there really wasn't a plan for it. And so I was brought in about a year and a half ago to really galvanize it, to kind of jumpstart it, shock it back to life. And so a year ago, I was looking for folks that ran markets. As you know, in Miami, there's a lot of farmers markets, public art markets. And so I was looking, and then I ran into a friend of mine, Ashley and Bart from Muse. And they were telling me about Roots Collective. And so they connected me with Danny, and it was just the start of a great friendship. So we were able to bring them in, and they were able to kind of help us get the marketplace off the ground. And so it was a partnership because we were able to activate the marketplace on the second Saturday of the month, and they were able to activate it on the third Saturday of the month. But as we progressed, we realized that people were tired of waiting, meaning that like if you came to the market on a Saturday, you'd have to wait a whole month to get that same product.
Right.
So what we did is that, hey, towards the end of last year, I reached out and said, hey, what if Roots Collective activates the market on the 1st and 3rd, and we'll activate on the 2nd and 4th. And so that's what's been happening ever since, and it's been going really well.
Nice. So it's a weekly market. So what kind of products, stores, vendors, businesses do you find in the market?
Well, our marketplace is not the Caribbean marketplace. Ours is called the Roots Collective Black Marketplace. So we believe in just building, all nationalities. It really doesn't matter. So it's a very diverse businesses that we have come out and set up on our platform. So we have from people that make jewelry, people that make clothes. We have a sweets company that's actually doing excellent. We have
Sweets as in food?
Yes.
Okay.
Desserts.
Just gotta make sure.
We actually have food trucks come out and set up.
Nice.
So it's very diverse businesses come out. People that's starting the books and things like that. So they testing the market, seeing what works, and it's basically going great. Like you said, we just really started building out the first Saturdays. So now we're starting to see more foot traffic come in, and
Nice.
a lot of people starting to notice that certain businesses come there on Saturdays, and they come in to patronize the businesses.
That's awesome. So do you have somewhat of a program for the businesses that are part of the marketplace that also like helps them and supports them further outside of just having space?
Yeah, so pretty much the program is basically setting them up to first test their market. Then from there, we're partnering with other organizations to help them get funding. So it's not from just, starting out making testing sales. So once we grow from the funding, basically once we're still working on the plan. But right now is once they probably spend about 6 weeks with us, we start helping them with advertising. We start making sure they have the certain business licenses to work in Florida and things like that.
So unofficially, you're actually running an incubator.
Right.
Pretty much.
So are you calling it that, or really you just sort of like bringing people in and organically doing it?
Yeah, it's pretty much the black marketplace. We all about building
Let me ask
our
you a
culture.
question. Hold on. Did you realize what you were doing was actually an incubator?
Yeah.
So why not? Did you not formalize it to not scare people away?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because once people hear incubator, they feel like they have to
Automatically
have certain,
tech, and it's automatically everything else but what they're doing.
Yeah. So we just stick to the black marketplace, and like I said, we do a lot of hands-on reaching out to people.
No, we like it, but it's just you have the advantages and the disadvantages. By not formalizing it, you can't get the funding and the grants you need.
Yeah.
But also by not formalizing it, you're not scaring people away. They get
that need it.
Yeah, they get terrified when they hear certain jargon because it's like, well, I don't have these things.
And that's not for me. That's
Right.
for them.
That's for them. Yeah, but you're actually helping people from concept to launch. It's important what you're doing, and I'm glad we had you on the show. We got to figure out a way to bring you guys back and bring some companies from your market.
Yeah, that would definitely be amazing. We got some amazing companies. Like I said, our founder, Danny Agnew, this is something that we actually started because on a Black Friday, we noticed that a lot of our money in our community doesn't stay in our community.
Absolutely.
So we started this in Miami Gardens.
Yeah, I remember when you guys did the launch.
Yeah.
That was about 3 years ago, Danny?
Yeah. It was about 3 years ago, 2014. So
formed a little bit.
once we noticed that that people actually wanted to shop with their culture, and we know that the money need to stay because trillions of dollars leave our community,
Right.
and nothing comes back to us. So Danny created this idea and just brought me on the team, and we just making it work.
That's cool.
And you guys also went through the program with Radical Partners. How much did that impact your growth in the last 8 months?
Oh man, Radical Partners, man, that was a great program for us. It helped us create the structure of what we have now. So that's why we said we knew we was basically doing a business incubator, but like we said, we were starting it out small, and that allowed us to be able to partner with other organizations. So now we can be able to get the funding and things like that from Urban Philanthropy. That's one of them that we're working a partnership out with to do small micro loans and things like that. So it's like I said, a lot of things is still in the build out phase.
Right.
But yeah, Radical Partners, man, they help us create our solid mission for what we were doing, to basically what are we doing to basically help our community? Like, what is it going to lead to besides just a marketplace?
And I think that's so key that certain words will scare people in the community away because they're just not aware. But it's all about how you present it, which content is everything. So if you present it the right way,
Right.
and you guys working together is also a big thing because collaborative efforts aren't happening very organically naturally these days. So for you to be working together, same vision, but to understand even though there's the same vision, there's enough space for both of you to grow. That's very big in the community. So I'm proud of both of you young men, because both of y'all are under 30 years old, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's impressive.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And
Really
to be very
appreciate
grassroots about it.
Yeah.
Like, that's awesome.
And that's where our name came from, Digital Grassroots. That's what it was all about.
Yeah, I want to congratulate y'all, man. I've been seeing y'all growing. Y'all got this nice new spot.
Hey,
Y'all doing it big now, man.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that.
We try.
We try. So we it's not our disrespect, but you know, this was the short interview for you guys. But please
Definitely
go
wanna have
ahead
y'all
before
back.
y'all go back. We got to have y'all back, but tell the people what's coming up in the next 2 weeks or so they know what.
So for us, I mean, we invite y'all to come out. Any Saturday, come and patron the businesses, 10 a.m. to 6. On the second and fourth Saturdays, we're really trying to like make it pomp and circumstance. So we're having live Haitian drumming, live music, Western folkloric dancing. So what's unique about our market is that you walk away with a sense of culture. You know, a lot of other markets are not as colorful, if you will. So we really invite you to come out, 10 a.m. to 6. Come out. Vendor fee is only $25.
Nice.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah.
Real
Come
low
out there and
entry.
sell some of my popcorn. $25.
That's what I'm saying. Look, look, Cosmology gonna have a table.
Set up.
Right.
Yeah, free Wi-Fi, free parking.
Nice.
Yeah.
So for us, Roots Collective, it's the Black Marketplace. We're every first and third Saturday of the month. We're more focused on the businesses, growing our businesses and growing our community economic base. But yeah, it doesn't matter what business you have. We have a live DJ come out, and we have great food. We have great vendors, and it's a great place to, like you said, get a sense of culture, to see what businesses is in Miami and what businesses actually is going to be on the top.
All right.
Yeah, we also got a mini golf course in the marketplace. So
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, forgot that. Yeah.
Entertainment, everything.
So while y'all wait for the second part of the show, some Jamaican funk gave you some bags so you can share amongst yourself. But
That's right.
we'll probably come and set
and
up.
social media tag.
Yeah.
Handles and things.
Oh, we'll put it on the show also. You can
That's
say it,
true.
but we're gonna
Yeah.
add it. We need a flyer from you guys so we can cut it into the editing part.
Okay, dope. So our social media, we got the Roots Collective at Instagram, and on Instagram also you can follow us at the Black Marketplace.
All right.
Yeah, for us it's LHCC Miami on all platforms, and also Caribbean Marketplace on all platforms.
Good stuff.
All right. So
Thank
we're
you, gentlemen.
gonna transition into a
We
quick
appreciate
interlude,
you
guys.
guys.
2 minutes, and we're gonna bring up our next guest. Thank you very much.
All right, thank y'all.
Right.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. We're getting into the part 2. Today we have one half of
Yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Rashad is super sick. You don't want to be close to him right now.
Yeah, we didn't want him talking
That's
into
okay.
the mic.
That's okay. We don't need to spread the germ.
We can't afford to be sick. We don't have that kind
No.
of. We don't have those kind of benefits.
No.
So
Facts.
if you could please just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your company so the audience knows who we're talking to.
So my name is Najja Moon, and I'm representing the Black family. We do different pop-up performance art shows around the city, focusing on culinary, visual, performing arts, social arts, and using art as a vehicle to connect people. We started almost 3 years ago.
Oh, okay. A lot of stuff happened 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So what made you start Black Family? What's the inspiration behind the movement?
I mean, I guess maybe less the movement and more the thing.
Uh-huh.
It was just having a really awesome day with people that you care about, and doing what you love, practicing your art, practicing your work, and being like, how do we expand this? How do we keep creating our life in a way that includes more people in our community and build that out into something that could one day be sustainable?
So before, because the question is even though it's all the way at the bottom, it's going to keep bothering me.
Right.
And I just ask ignorant questions anyway.
All right, be ignorant.
Why'd you remove the A?
Did I remove the A? Or is it BLCK? Or do I read backwards and it's KCLB? Is it block with no O? I mean, I don't know. I think the point is to have the conversation, not that there was a reason for something missing.
Okay.
So where were you going with it? Because since it was bothering you,
Now,
you obviously had
now I'm
something
going to have
on
to
it.
try this again.
Right, you had a reason.
Was it black or was it block? Or what was the name before? 'Cause
That
we're calling you the Black Family. So.
And I pronounce it Black as well.
Oh, okay. So you did remove
So
that
the A.
I don't know. I mean, I think
That's what happened when
the
you did with artsy
ambiguity.
people. They got off.
Yeah, the ambiguity kind of adds to the psychological part of the arts experience. Even with our dinners, we never reveal the location. People are always getting it 24 hours before, so that's kind of creating anxiety prior to entering this experience that is going to produce like joy or.
I mean, because at that point you used a lot of words that started with the letter A, so I didn't know if it was just the emphasis on the different. No, but the reason why I say this is because we have a company called Black Beer,
Okay.
and we removed the A also.
Okay,
But
dope.
the-
Why haven't we done anything together?
I didn't know you until now.
Oh,
I mean, that was the whole point of doing the show. We
Word.
meet people.
that's what's up.
But we did ours Black Beer because it was the basis of taking away the emphasis of color, and more so, black is only negative when you think about it in terms of race.
Right.
Because when you're into black in business, a black tie event, black car service, black, so black represents something totally different once it's not related to race.
Word. I'm gonna use that next time somebody asks me.
Just send me my cut. But so what you said? Well, for one, I don't know how you release the location of an event 24 hours in advance doing stuff in Miami because people don't like to come on time when it's 3 months in advance.
Word.
So shout out to Miami. We love y'all, but
We stay throwing shade, y'all.
being late is being on time in Miami.
Oh, so sad.
So what are the challenges of hosting events in Miami for you?
I think you hit it on the head with people's timeliness. I think part of it is also there's so much to do in Miami that people don't feel the urgency to participate in things because they feel like there's always going to be something else. So even though we've been doing it for almost 3 years and people will come up to me all the time and say, oh my God, I had an amazing experience last time.
Yeah.
They won't buy a ticket until the day before. And so I'm looking at things going on. I'm like, should we still do this?
Yeah,
like
that
only
is-
a few people have committed to coming.
It's an anxiety attack trying to
Right.
do events in South
Right.
Florida.
So
Yeah.
have you found sort of that magic formula? So then that way you're not concerned 24 hours out and you're like, wait a minute, we only got like 5 purchases, but we
Right.
know it's going to be a better event.
No. However, I have
Honesty.
learned to be less anxious and just kind of trust it. We had a freedom session. Was still March? Yeah, earlier this month. And Sekajipo was talking about success, and one of the things that really stuck with me is that when people become successful, you start doing things to maintain your success instead of maintaining the thing that made you successful to begin with. And so that's
Hold on.
That was good.
Can you say it again? We gotta run
Yeah,
that back.
rewind.
Sekajipo, I apologize if I'm misquoting you, but essentially he was saying that we're not maintaining the work that we did to become successful. We're just maintaining success. And so that's something that I really took in with Black, and I was like, when we first started, we used to make these little origami invitations that people had to pop open and confetti would spray everywhere, and people would be like, what is this? Like, I had to come to this. We haven't done that in like a year.
Yeah.
So I was trying to go back to doing the things that got you successful to begin with.
And I think you just touched on something really important is like branding and those small touches that sort of make you different.
Right.
So what have you found outside of doing the origami thing? What's made Black Family different from other sort of event promotions and everything that's in Miami?
Right. I think our secret sauce is us. There's about 10 of us that are always active and contributing to the work that we're doing. And even in the dining aspect, the person who may be performing at the end of the night in the music sector, they're serving you food or getting you water. The person who greeted you when you first arrived, they could be a visual artist that's contributing later on. So there's never this kind of tiered or hierarchical thing that's happening where people feel like I'm not included in this space. It's definitely familial in every aspect.
Yeah.
What have been some of the more, I guess, standout things? Because to me, some of our culinary experiences in South Florida could definitely be more enhanced. Some of our art experiences could definitely be more diverse. Some of the pop art to me is getting very boring.
Word.
Especially when I think of, like the little Monopoly drawings and all that stuff. It's just what I feel.
Throwing shots.
Hey, all day. Michael Jordan from the free throw. It's just I don't understand some of these things are just seem very stagnant. Seems like sometimes we get to a point where we're just duplicating and we're not innovating anymore.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things you've seen that's been standing out?
I mean, that's hard because, and it's not what you're saying, but I think consistency is important too in order to learn yourself. So I think that, in trying to become consistent, that we do become stagnant at times. Things that I've seen that have been exceptional, I think once you've figured out the formula and you've become consistent, like making people wait for things. I get excited every time smoke signals happens because it doesn't happen all the time.
I remember somebody saying that to us, and it was like, won't you do Tech Beats and Bytes once a month to build up the anticipation? And for me, I fear that because I think people will be like, oh, I'm coming. And then everybody will have something to do that one day out of the month. So the consistency is being here every Thursday. Well, it was every Monday.
Right.
To be here every Thursday because
it's a balance. I don't know the formula. And I don't know the answer to your question either. Things have been super.
I think you gave me a valid answer.
Okay.
I don't think there is
And
a
it's what's true for
solution. I
them.
think everybody. I
Yeah.
think it stands different for everybody else.
Right.
I mean, I think if Art Basel happened more than once a year, it would be a failure.
It wouldn't be the same.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on a
That
similar
might have been a
note,
strong word. Just
right? Failure was a little.
when I
right.
heard myself say that, like, ooh,
It was
that's
a
hard.
Yeah, a little harsh.
Yeah. It wouldn't be as successful.
Right.
It wouldn't
be the same.
It wouldn't be in high demand like it is.
Right.
All right.
And on a very similar note, because of, you're bringing in art and everything. So that's a cultural experience. And I know you were talking about, it's not so much about ethnicity, it's more so about the experience. But so what do you find has been what works for you in terms of creating culturally relevant events in Miami? Because Miami is such a melting pot. How do you find the right mix to attract the right
melting
people?
pot with dividers all inside the pot.
Right.
I mean, I think that a lot of times in this, and I guess going back specifically to the dinner that we do, that's a way to create a safe space. That it's something that's nostalgic for everyone. You kind of know what it feels like to have dinner with your family. And how was your day? How's life going? How was the interview or this and that? And so I think that it allows for those kind of conversations to happen without the prompted stimulus of a talk or of a conference or those kind of things. You don't have to create those guidelines. They happen more fluidly and more honestly.
So, when we're speaking of culture, there's now we've had a lot of conversations with culture appropriation and culture vultures. Yeah, you made a face. You want to go ahead and say something before I ask the question?
Keep going.
Do you feel that? To me, well, let me tell you how I feel first before I ask the question. To me, I feel some of it is our own fault because every other culture takes more pride and exploits themselves before others even get an opportunity to. So, I mean, how many times have you guys been, anybody in here that's done event planning or something, and you hear somebody in there talking, and it's like, oh, you can't do that. That'll make it too black.
Right.
Ooh.
And I was like, I've never been in a Hispanic restaurant where they were like, oh, we can't do that
That's
because it'll
too
make it too
Cuban.
Spanish.
Right, that's way too
Yeah.
Cuban,
Don't
y'all.
put
We can't do it.
sazon on that.
Right. So it's like sometimes we're killing ourselves
Right.
versus embracing ourselves. But then everybody else, like you go to China, they just took hip hop. They just took that
Right.
whole thing. So do you really feel there's culture virtues, or maybe we're just too afraid to embrace our own culture to the highest level?
I mean, I think that regardless of how we embrace our culture or not, culture vultures can still exist. You
Right.
don't get exempt from appropriating someone else's culture because they weren't doing it right.
So here's
know?
my counter to that.
Okay.
How many times have you seen a black person owning a Spanish restaurant?
No say.
How many times have you seen a black person owning a Chinese restaurant?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm from Durham, North Carolina. I'm pretty sure some black people own the
I live in
Chinese
North
restaurants.
Carolina too. And now, with that being said, how many white people have you seen owning a soul food restaurant?
Right, a lot.
So,
Yeah.
is there something that maybe to that formula isn't correct because we just don't have that kind of? It's almost like a cultural protection.
Right. I mean, if we're gonna go
We have to go
that level, I mean,
because it's the basis of understanding. It's not the basis of critique.
right? No,
Because
I think there's definitely an aspect of lacking some self-love that when somebody outside of your culture validates the things that you do,
That's
that
the word I
you-
was looking for.
Yeah, that you feel like it's acceptable now. I try not to walk in that, so maybe that's why I don't know how to articulate it properly. You know, when people, not people of color, ask me why is it the black family, I give them the same answer I gave you earlier. I was like, who's talking about race right now? You know.
I see it as a high-end event. I just see it as a base of elegance. Like I said, if you remove it from race, it's just not as negative. But it's most of these times, and people should know.
Or I mean to say, I've had people, non-people of color, ask me if they are allowed to attend.
Because then they feel like the black is a qualifier, and you have
So
to be
that was
right.
going to be my next part. Why is it when it's something black, other races may feel they have to be invited, versus when it's anything else, we just show up.
Right. But do we? I think there's a feeling of exclusion.
I don't mean, if you think of different festivals and stuff, I've never put myself in a position when I think of other cultures that I ask, should I be there or can I come if I'm not of that race?
But you can look at Calle Ocho. Like, how many like African Americans really own Calle Ocho? Like, outside of people who are like going to events like the white. So,
But I'm
just
saying, it's not that you wouldn't go. It's like going to Coachella. I mean, yeah, it's not us, but we still gonna show up if you want to go. If you want to be there, you want to be there. But other events, it's really like it's. Sometimes with our events, it almost feel like church. That's a black church. Should we really go? Like they say, the most segregated day in the week is Sunday. And when it comes to certain things,
Yeah, but I think to her point though, there's still an element of even going back
Of
to Roots
exclusion.
Collective and the use of incubator, like that feeling of that's not for us, so we're not going to go. I
Absolutely.
think that there's still that.
so we're
exists.
afraid to
It's some of
embrace
us who
our
just
own, but we're
don't care.
comfortable to infiltrate into others.
That's what I don't think that we're comfortable.
Okay.
I think that
Yeah.
when I was in a space last week where I was the only queer person and for most of the day the only person of color, and I felt uncomfortable the entire time. I was like, why am I here? Am I supposed to be a token? Do they really want to
You were invited, or
Yeah.
you just sent it? Okay.
So I was like, am I a token in this space? Do they care about what I have to say? Should I be here? And I think that's something that we have to overcome because that those are access to resources. And how else are they going to hear anything different?
My first boss worked for the National Black Justice Coalition. And only because you mentioned it, I do want to ask a question. Me and David have had this conversation. Me and Dante have had this conversation before. Some people don't understand when it comes to diversity and inclusion, there is a difference between being in the LGBT community and being black in the LGBT community. Do you feel that there's any form of difference, or do you feel it's harder for you being black and lesbian, or do you feel just alone being a lesbian or being queer makes it more difficult for you? Now let me explain. The reason why I'm asking is because
Yeah,
MBJC
give me more.
MBJC focuses just on black people in the LGBTQ community.
Okay.
There was a whole focus, and we had a conversation with a black gay male. I think, a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about
from Maven.
Yes, Corey from Maven. He was talking about it's one thing that he is a gay man, but it's another thing that he's a black gay man. Because now it's because you're black, you got to be more macho, or because you're black, you can't be gay. So it's like everything is always against him.
Right.
So you think it's harder for you?
I mean, I'm black. I'm a woman.
Right.
And I'm queer.
So you got the three things going
yeah.
against you sometimes.
So I mean, I think that there's a certain level of awareness that there's a perception that people have of you. But also, I try not to allow that to handicap me. I'm not trying to walk into spaces modifying how I move based on someone else's perspective.
Right.
I can still be aware that it exists and still move how I move.
And we're only doing this because we want other people out there that might be dealing with that struggle to understand
right.
and be comfortable within your own skin. People
Right.
are going to judge you no matter what. So
Yeah,
move
I
how
mean,
you got to move.
There are privileges that exist for people that don't tick the boxes that I tick, but I don't think about that when I make decisions about myself.
Yeah, and because you're in a very sort of creative space, right? So you're an entrepreneur, you do events, and I know you also come from like bartending and other things.
Hospitality, yeah.
Right, hospitality. So have you found that you're able to more so be yourself and express yourself because you're in an industry that is not as buttoned up as, let's say, corporate America?
Maybe. I mean, that's a
Creativity
privilege
lost,
that
but
I
Right.
have that I don't know any different.
Any different?
Yeah.
James, real quick, do you see a divide?
Who is
And James is right there. James is heavy in the
Oh.
art world.
I'm like,
Do you see a large divide when you think of cultures when it comes to the art community, the arts in general? So, the reason why I ask it, how do we start to make, to me, out, art is full of color, so it shouldn't be a biased thing. And as an artist, there was a great little controversy. I posted something this week without really voicing my opinion. I just kind of left it with a open-ended thing where there's a young white female, Kirsten, I believe her name is Kirsten, that is now the curator for African art.
At Brooklyn Museum?
Yeah, at the Brooklyn Museum. And we was having the conversation, was there not a single black person that could have fulfilled that role?
right.
Did that position have to go to a white female? Now, that's how some people took it. To me, I said, this is why I wanted to start Curator. Curator was supposed to be a platform where you scan a piece of art and you hear the story of that art directly from the artist themselves, with anywhere from a 60-second to a 120-second audio clip. And it was just so, the story behind the art never gets lost, because one way one curator may see something versus another curator may be totally different when interpreting art. So, do you feel we have the voices in place to make these things happen, or how do we make art more universal and more, I don't want to say ambiguous, that's not the word I'm looking for, but
Well, I think part of it is that what we were talking about earlier, in terms of people outside of our culture validating how valuable our work is, because there are tons of people of color. Maybe there is a disparity, but there are a lot of people of color working in arts institutions,
right.
but they aren't headline names, so we think that there's no one. And so I think there's got to be a way where we can validate each other. And like even with black, we try to occupy spaces that are black owned and black run, so that people know that the Namdi Contemporary is in Wynwood. That's a black owned gallery. They have a whole history. They come from Detroit. They've been doing this for 50 years.
Yeah.
And so while there might be there's no black galleries in Wynwood, might be a narrative, it's not true. So how do we do the work to tell each other about the great things that we are doing?
Do we need our own Sotheby's and Christie's? Is that the way to change this?
Yeah, we need to make our own institutions. I think about the same thing. Even, why do we care more about the Grammys than we care about the BET Awards?
Right.
Like, how do we make our own?
All the way down to the way we dress in attendance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I was looking back at some of the older 99 BET awards, and these dudes were in the oversized Mitchell and Ness jerseys and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, so you went and got a black tie and everything was
Right.
suited up.
Which it's fine to wear the jersey, but why not wear the jersey to the Grammys too?
Right.
Because you got to get in line with Master.
And so, yeah.
You don't want to break the rules.
Right. It has parameters and everything else. But you gotta rock that red carpet.
Yeah.
You can't just be in a space doing, anyway.
We need a black carpet.
Yes. Yes. So kind of going back to, so Miami being a metropolitan area and it having lots of different events, how are you sort of feeling being black and queer in Miami? We talked about overall and you working your space from an art perspective, but what about the city? Do you feel that the city supports your efforts and your movement and you as a person?
I'm going to steal from Rashad a little bit since he's not here.
Okay.
But he talks about a lot that there's, well, I guess the number, maybe it's 7-8 billion people on the planet. Why are we competing for consumer base? Why do we care that, these people aren't paying attention to what we're doing when there's so many other people that can be engaged with you? And I think that goes even more intimately between our community, If In Good Company is doing something, if Smoke Signals is doing something, if Roots is doing something, we shouldn't be fighting over the same people to attend or patronize our work. We should be supporting each other, and we should also try to expand our reach because there's so many other people
Right.
that we may not be touching.
No, that's a good point. And how are you using it? Are you using digital technology, innovation, anything to sort of help to capitalize on that effort?
I think the internet is a game changer. It's kind of democratized how we connect directly to people. Social media, we use that. We maintain an email list. I'm not the most tech savvy person, but I think of social media the way I think about our grassroots marketing. When I go back to like those origami invitations, how do we create artistic collateral in a digital space that has the same kind of impact on people where they remember us? Yeah.
So I'm gonna be quoting him a lot over these next couple of weeks. Brian Burkeen had a a big debate, and we were discussing the impact of startups in Miami. What was defined as Miami, and one of the big things that came up was Magic Leap is actually not in Miami; it's in Plantation. But
Right.
how many guys, when you think of Miami, what's the furthest north do you consider Miami? You can just yell it out.
We have Opalaka, Miami Gardens.
All right. So, I forgot the term that it was used. It was an acronym that defined metropolitan areas. In the rest of the world, metropolitan area of Miami is actually viewed all the way up to West Palm Beach.
South Florida.
Yeah.
Ish, which we call South Florida, but it's Miami Metro.
So we have this inner war of the tri-counties, but the rest of the world, when they see Miami, they think of everything from Homestead up to Palm Beach because they're pretty much looking at a 45 to an hour radius of a commute. I'm assuming because I didn't.
That's way further. Yeah, you're talking 2.5 hours.
From where to where?
From South Miami to West Palm Beach?
But you got to look at a centralized location.
Oh.
You got to look at where the centralized.
Okay.
When you
I was like.
But that's what I'm saying. So when you do the basis of radius, the radius
Right.
doesn't start at the farthest point.
Radius? Okay.
If you look at an hour radius, you can get to all those places in about an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you think about like the New York City metro area, it's very similar. You have all the different boroughs, but it's categorized or called New York City.
Yeah.
But when people say New York City, they're talking about Manhattan, and then they say Brooklyn, and then they say.
I mean, not
but when
really.
you talk about
Not all the
metropolitan,
time.
when you talk about financial and financial impact,
okay.
you're going to say.
Right. When you say
Yeah.
New York City metro, you're thinking Brooklyn, Queens,
Right.
Long Island, Staten Island.
So this is changing one of my biggest opinions because I was real big on the tri-county wars. Now that knowing that, do you think most of your support actually comes from, as somebody else said in the post, Miami proper? Or do you realize that a lot of people, because a lot of black people actually live in Broward
Right.
versus actually living in Miami. We have a lot of commuters.
Right.
So do you see a lot of your support being in the Miami metropolitan or Miami proper?
Most of our family lives in Broward County. Rashad and I both live in Miami proper. And that's something we've been talking about exploring. Like we've never done an activation in Broward.
It's weird in Broward. It's something about Broward where Broward is consistently demanding these kind of things, but it seems like when it comes, either they don't get the support from either the community or they don't get the support from the cities that are supposed to be behind them.
Right.
I haven't figured that formula out because we were up there at one point and it never felt right.
Huh. I mean, that's something we're gonna explore this year for sure. We all got together yesterday and we were talking about doing something in Broward. We're also gonna be doing something in West Palm Beach in the summer. So you make a good point.
Oh, thank you. I try to do that at least once a show.
Remind me not to compliment him again.
Go ahead, Sway.
No, I was gonna say. So one of the things that's still trending, Black Panther's doing all kinds of numbers.
Yes.
They just keep breaking records. But a lot of people are talking about the ripple effect of Wakanda Forever. What for you, Black family? What do you feel like that? What's that impact? What's the ripple effect? What do you see 5 years out from the Wakanda Forever trend? What does that look like?
What is okay? My first thought is you were talking about like how Black people us exploit ourselves, right?
Mhm.
And I feel like
We did it with the movies in the 60s and the 70s.
I feel like Black Panther is kind of along those lines.
Bringing it back.
And I'm happy about that. I think that it only could have happened now with how like Afropunk has grown, and it's visually been a part of the culture that people are accepting. You've got this natural hair wave that's happening.
Yep.
And plug. But yeah, so there's so many things happening simultaneously that allow Black Panther to exist right now the way that it does. I fear like the bubble bursting, and it being like, you know, the whole natural care aisle now being like the discount aisle in like 2 years because it's not trendy anymore.
You know what? I don't think that's going to happen because I think we're actually in such an infancy stage. We haven't even seen the impact of it.
You think?
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you think about all this stuff only started, maybe everything has been impactful within the last 3 years. Although Miss Jessie's has been around, there's a lot of things that because I think sometimes our timing gets off because of how fast other things move.
Heard.
So a lot of things used to move a lot slower, so it would sit. Because you got to remember, there was a point a movie stayed in the movie theater for 6 months.
Right.
Now a movie might last 60 days if it's not doing the number. So things move so much faster, we lose time. And 3 years ago, we weren't nowhere close to having this kind of conversation.
Yeah.
CIC wasn't around. 4 or 5 years ago, Wynwood wasn't a place that you still felt comfortable at. I mean, people forget about Carew and Y.
Okay.
Carew and Y, you were paying a crackhead to watch your car. And I mean, that's in the heart of where some of this stuff is going on at. So this is still a very much of an infancy stage of things that are transitioning.
I think you have brands and people like us who are invested in making sure that it's not a trend.
Correct.
We're making sure that these things are staples. It's okay to be who you are. We're going to empower you to be who you are and not feel as if, like, it's just cool for right now while we're in 2018.
Yeah, and I think we have a generation that's a little bit more aware.
Yeah.
I mean, time will tell.
Absolutely.
Time
And
will
two,
tell.
I'm just saying, if you saw that little 11-year-old girl when she was talking, that Naomi was her name, seeing that 11-year-old speak at that level, and with her little natural hair and her little curls,
Right.
I don't think it's a trend no more. I think it's a lifestyle.
Yeah, no, it's a
I
lifestyle.
hope so.
I
I
hope
hope
so
so.
too.
Speak it into existence.
Exactly. And let's own it. Let's own it.
Okay, so we have topics that we talk about because we had a couple of questions, so we want to open up the floor for you. But we have world topics we talk about, but we haven't done the quick six in a while, so we may run through that. But
I was not told what a quick six is.
It's okay.
That's
No,
fine.
we don't give
we
heads
normally
up
don't
to
tell
anybody.
people about what's
You just
happening.
come on and it happens.
All right.
You look real nervous.
I am incredibly.
But before we do that, we want to give a shout out to
No
Karita
light
Morrow.
skin jokes, okay?
See, now you acting real light skinned because you're trying to play some
Right.
mans
I'm
before
like,
we.
wait a minute.
Nah, he said I got super pale.
Karita Morrow
Jokes.
with
Jokes, y'all.
Adobe
Jokes.
Diversity and Inclusion Talent Program Manager. I just want to give her a shout out. That's a big deal. She was working very much with UNCF up in DC. So Karita, we're very proud of you. She was a part of our original what was it called back then? Tech and Bytes? Spirit and
Spirit
Bytes. Yeah. Whole different name. But Karita, we're proud of you.
Right.
Facebook and Cambridge Analytica.
So data was basically used. She was like,
Okay.
So Mark Zuckerberg, we just want to tell you, I don't know if it's gonna work out for you, bro. This apology tour you going on, you're gonna have to
And
be
it's
a
a
little
little
bit strong.
late.
Yeah, you should have reacted just a little bit faster. Do you know what happened?
I have no idea what we're talking about.
So Cambridge Analytica was a company that took data from Facebook of about 50 million users,
Okay.
and they pretty much used it to influence the Trump campaign.
in the
course.
election.
So
Okay,
at some
yes.
point,
Makes
some
total
of your
sense.
data probably
Yeah.
went to them in some way, shape, or form.
Right. So you have a lot of people who are deleting Facebook. There's this whole delete Facebook effort because they're like, bye, Facebook. You take my data.
So another thing, Byron Allen buys the Weather Channel. Did you know that?
Nope.
Do you know who Byron Allen is?
Nope.
So Byron Allen is known as a comedian, but he's actually a media mogul.
Producer,
He owns
all
about
that good stuff.
30 different channels at this point. He slowly accumulated channels when channels would hit a low, and he would start buying them up. So he actually owns a lot of different channels. But Byron Allen, we're very proud of you. So if you find a way to make the Weather Channel more urban, I promise you. I just want every once in a while for y'all to do the weather like they do it in Atlanta, where y'all be shouting bars out and stuff. Because they've done a couple. I'm just saying, they did one for Craig Mack when he passed. And like when they do the weather, they'll start spitting bars in the middle of it. Like, it's kind of dope. So Byron Allen, if you can
Trap
implement, if you can implement just a little bit of urban element to the Weather Channel, we'll start watching.
Right. Snow has a whole new meaning.
Or just get Jeezy to come do a set. So we're gonna hit you with the quick six.
Okay.
It should be very uncomfortable, but you want to respond quickly.
Fantastic. Okay.
Try to use under 4 words. Just,
Right. Meaning no
Okay.
monologues.
Yeah, we'll want a whole conversation afterwards. All
All
right.
right.
All right. So if you had to have a song to represent you, or every time you entered a room, a particular song came on, what song would we be hearing?
Every time I enter, I'm breaking the rules right now because I'm trying to kill time. Every time I walk in the room,
What's your soundtrack?
the
What's
song that comes on is, I don't know, that bitch bad. I don't know.
What song is that?
I said that bitch bad.
Who's saying that?
I'm making
old.
it up. Oh, I thought I was inventing a song.
No, we meant the
Oh,
real
you want
song.
a real song?
Yeah.
She
I
was
was
like,
about to start beatboxing and everything.
But I'm sure Cardi B gonna have that track out
Right.
next week. So no, we mean the.
and I was like going through my Rolodex, like, wait a minute, I can hear it.
I was
Like,
trying to
no,
find
I
that
know
beat.
that
like,
one. Yes,
no.
good.
No, we mean a real song, an actual song.
A real song?
Yeah.
Can I? Do I have like lifelines and stuff?
Nah, you can't phone a friend.
Right.
Just
Okay.
name a song. What's the first song you just
What,
thought of
right.
just now?
Pop in your head. Go.
Totally ruined this 4-word thing.
Okay, slow dancing in a burning room.
I need somebody to pull that up real quick.
Yeah. John, look at all the John Mayer fans here.
Okay.
That's what's up.
That's what. So you going into a meeting, slow dancing in
Right.
the burner room?
Just floating in that thing. Like, hey.
All right.
Sponsorship. Take it or leave it.
Leave it.
Really?
That was easy.
Well, check that off. All right. So
Collaboration before sponsorship.
Before sponsorship.
Sponsorship sounds like somebody owns you. Sounds like they want to put their name on your work. Collaboration sounds like community. Sounds like growth.
Digital Grass will now be changing our intro in collaboration with instead of sponsorship. Oh yeah, Unicorn. That's who we forgot to shout out. So if you had to pick one person, one actress to play you in a biopic of your life, who would it be?
Zoe Kravitz.
That would be a
That
good
would
one.
work. Yeah.
She
That would be a
fine.
good one.
You just went into a whole nother moment there.
Sorry.
We was talking about
I
acting
roll my
skills.
eyes and everything.
You know, the camera is on you. All that shows up. Go ahead, Toy.
If you had all the money in the world and you could pick what you wanted to do every day, what would it be?
What I'm doing right now.
That's dope.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
If you could have dinner for an hour with one person, dead or alive, who would you be eating with?
James Baldwin.
Fire next time. Fire this time. Good stuff.
Not your Negro.
Oh, you're all speaking English right now? Like, what just?
We both are thinking about everything.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Toy.
So I don't know, lost my train of thought. So we haven't done this question in a long time.
Okay.
Craft beer or craft cocktail? And if so, give us the flavor.
Craft cocktail.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know you drink too much beer and you gotta go to the bathroom too often.
Right.
You know. Flavor.
Or the name of the cocktail, since you picked cocktail.
The name of the cocktail is warm leather. I don't know.
So you made that up?
Yeah.
She likes to make up stuff. I think we got to be.
I gotta get more rules, man.
Nah,
I'm supposed
that's-
to be creative.
So now that you went there,
That's okay.
We
That's
gonna
fun,
close
though.
it. What would a warm leather be?
Right.
Now,
You gotta give us what's in
we
there.
got one more question, but we closing
Is that
out with
gin? Is that
what
rum?
I'm
Brandy?
Thinking, I'm
What's
thinking
that?
it's like a whiskey and something warm
Yeah,
to it.
it's a whiskey cocktail.
Okay. What's
with-
the warm element? Like
with,
warm apple juice, warm apple cider, or something?
Some cinnamon?
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
Yeah, cinnamon shavings.
Warm apple cider and cinnamon and
some
whiskey.
Yeah.
The warm
But she didn't
leather.
say apple cider. She ain't co-signed that.
I didn't co-sign that part.
I wanted to be apple cider at this point.
You making her cocktail fun.
Because I'm thinking I'm about to go somewhere tonight and try to get that made. Hey, man, y'all heard of that warm leather? Y'all ain't on that yet? I just,
Right, we breaking it. We breaking it.
you just go and make people feel uncomfortable at
Right.
the bar.
No. Let me find it.
What you mean? You
It
don't know how
ain't
to make a
enough.
warm
It ain't
leather? What
enough.
warm leather been out since like last year.
It don't
dude.
exist.
What
It
up,
don't
B?
exist.
Can't make a warm leather. You ain't a real bartender.
Oh man.
Maybe feel all like. So, 5 years from now,
Yeah.
Miami Herald, Sun Sentinel, Palm Beach Post. See what I did there? Run an article on you. What's the perfect headline? What does it read?
Well, hopefully it's not about me. And
That's humbling.
and it's about like what we're all doing. I would love to be included in the change that's happening here, but it shouldn't be my name. It should be Black. It should be Tech Beats and Bytes. It should be Roots and Smoke Signals. And I really feel like we have a very collaborative community that's supportive. And even I've had some crazy experiences this week. I live in Little Haiti with the gentrification that's happening. And if there's something that we can do as creative people, as people with resources, to kind of change the trajectory of what's happening in our communities, I would love to be associated with some kind of headline about that.
That is probably one of
That's
the most
good.
dynamic answers
Yeah.
we've had. That's dope. That was real dope. So we have, definitely was a forward.
Audience check.
So we have a little bit of time before we have to shut off. We had a question. You want to ask the question? Go. So just in case the audience
Right.
couldn't hear, audience that's watching, the question was one of her black friends was a black gay male that was a photographer, great photographer, but he had to leave Miami to make his living. He wasn't making it happen. But I have to ask you, do you feel, did he state or did he feel the element of him being black or the element of him being gay or the element of him being both led to the demise of his success? All of it?
I mean, that was
Yeah.
going to be my question as well. I think that there is a very, I don't know what kind of photographer he was. I don't know if he was like a commercial photographer or what, but there's like a very niche community of people that get work here, whether you're talking about like music videos or like,
Yes.
the models that come down here in the winter and shoot,
Yes.
like the same people get booked to do the same jobs in the same studios. And so I think that's a bummer here that it's hard to kind of like break into certain commercial creative industry, just because people are like, these are the people to work with when you come here. And a lot of them don't even live here too. They come with the same crew from New York at the same time of the year. Not to say that whatever marginalized parts of him may not have affected it, but I think that that's an issue as well.
All right. So I have a response to that, and it might be the way we sum it up. Seems like we had some people that had some more questions in here, so I think maybe we'll do an overtime tonight. But
Very cool.
one of the things I think that people should understand, and I don't want to put you on blast, but my friend over here, close friend now, David, when he came down here, he was kind of doing some of the same things other people were doing in the basis of photography. And I said to him, why don't you stop doing what everybody else is doing and start capturing the tech and startup world, because it's not being documented. The shots may not be as exciting, but we don't get our story told.
Right.
And
Control the narrative.
that led David to shooting campaigns and getting clients on a whole different thing because he was capturing a whole different story. So I think one of the problems in South Florida is, I don't even want to just say South Florida. I think one of the problems is sometimes people are too afraid to take the leap, and we just follow trends because it's a comfort zone. And one of the things is, because it happened to me, and that's kind of why I wanted to do an overtime, because the overtime was going to be more like a founder's therapy kind of thing. But every once in a while, you truly want to give up because you've been getting beat up so much, and you just think it's not going to pay off.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many times I'm just like, you know what? Let me just go get a job, make $120,000 a year, know that when I come home at 5 or 6 o'clock, there's nothing else to do but to watch TV and go to the gym, go ahead and try to have some kids because I won't have the same responsibility of running these 5 businesses. But everybody has a different purpose. You just got to figure out what your purpose is and accept that role in life, because it may not be easy. And
Right.
you may not even get the rewards that you seek. until you're gone. And that's something that sometimes leaders have to accept. You may not be appreciated until the tombstone is laid down.
Yeah. No, I had that exact same discussion last week on the Art Africa panel, just talking about talent retention, one, and then also making sure that people understand the long game and don't enter entrepreneurship for the short gain, because it's not a short thing.
It's not.
And I know a couple of people who recently, like a week or so ago, left entrepreneurship and got jobs because they was like, I'm tired, and it's tough.
It's been rough.
Overtime?
Yeah, we're gonna do a little overtime. Producer Dante, can we cut and reboot, or do we just want to keep going and we'll do it in post? We'll do sponsors at the beginning of the show, so we cool. Well, thank you, everybody. So we're gonna go into overtime. If you want to go ahead and step away from the cameras, you can, but we're gonna continue the conversation.